Deep within the ancient libraries of Mesopotamia lies a tale so extraordinary that scholars have spent centuries debating whether it records actual events or merely mythological fantasy. The Epic of Gilgamesh, humanity's oldest known literary work, contains descriptions of technologies, locations, and encounters that seem impossible for its time period. Recent archaeological discoveries have begun to blur the line between legend and historical record in ways that challenge our understanding of ancient civilization itself. Before we start, hit subscribe to stay connected with mysterious discoveries. It was the spring of 1872 when British archaeologist George Smith made a discovery that would forever change how historians viewed ancient literature. In the basement archives of the British Museum, Smith carefully examined cuneiform tablets recovered from the ruins of Nineveh. The clay fragments, blackened by millennia and fire, contained text that seemed to mirror the biblical flood narrative with unsettling precision. The tablets described a king named Gilgamesh who ruled the city of Uruk around 2,700 years before the Common Era. According to the ancient text, this ruler possessed extraordinary strength and lived for an impossibly long time. Most scholars dismiss these details as typical mythological exaggeration. However, Smith noticed something peculiar about the geographical descriptions within the epic. The text provided remarkably accurate details about locations that would have been unknown to later scribes. Rivers, mountain ranges, and cities were described with a precision that suggested first-hand knowledge rather than imaginative storytelling. The cedar forest, where Gilgamesh supposedly battled the monster Humbaba, corresponded exactly to the geographical features of the Lebanon mountain range. Archaeological teams began investigating sites mentioned in the epic during the early 20th century. In 1931, German archaeologist Ernst Herzfeld discovered the remains of a massive wall system beneath the modern city of Warka in Iraq. The ancient name for this location was Uruk, the exact city where Gilgamesh allegedly ruled. The wall construction displayed engineering techniques that seemed impossibly advanced for the supposed time period. More disturbing discoveries emerged as excavations continued. The foundation stones of Uruk's walls were cut and fitted with a precision that modern stonemasons struggle to replicate. Each block weighed several tons and showed no tool marks despite being shaped into perfect geometric forms. The construction method defied explanation, particularly given the limited technology attributed to early Mesopotamian civilization. Dr. Samuel Kramer, a specialist in Sumerian literature at the University of Pennsylvania, spent decades analyzing the linguistic patterns within the epic. His research revealed that the text contained technical terminology for metallurgy, engineering, and navigation that would not be rediscovered until much later historical periods. The descriptions of metalworking techniques matched processes that archaeologists believed were unknown until the Iron Age. The epic described Gilgamesh's companion Enkidu as a wild man who lived among animals before being civilized. Anthropologists initially interpreted this as a metaphor for humanity's transition from hunter-gatherer to agricultural society. However, Soviet archaeologist Mikhail Gerasimov made an unusual discovery in 1958 while excavating sites in Central Asia. Gerasimov uncovered skeletal remains that displayed characteristics unlike any known human population. The bones showed evidence of extreme physical development, particularly in the upper body and limbs. The skull structure suggested brain capacity significantly larger than modern humans. Carbon dating placed these remains within the time frame described in the Gilgamesh epic. The most unsettling aspect of Gerasimov's discovery was the burial context. The remains were found in elaborate stone chambers alongside artifacts that displayed impossible craftsmanship. Metal objects showed molecular structures that required smelting temperatures beyond the capability of ancient furnaces. The burial site itself was constructed using the same unexplained stone-cutting techniques found at Uruk. French archaeologist André Parrot made another significant discovery in 1964 while excavating the ancient city of Mari in Syria. Deep beneath the palace foundations, Parrot's team uncovered a chamber containing thousands of clay tablets. Among these documents were administrative records that mentioned a ruler named Gilgamesh who visited Mari during a journey to distant lands. The tablets described Gilgamesh's entourage as consisting of individuals who possessed unusual physical characteristics and demonstrated knowledge of advanced technologies. Palace scribes recorded that these visitors could work metal using techniques unknown to local craftsmen. They also mentioned strange devices that could produce light without fire and create sounds that carried across vast distances. Dr. Parrot's translation of the Mari tablets revealed another puzzling detail. The administrative records indicated that Gilgamesh's visit lasted exactly 11 days, during which time he consulted with the palace astronomers about celestial events. The astronomical calculations recorded in these discussions showed knowledge of planetary movements that would not be formally documented until the Hellenistic period. The epic itself contained descriptions of a great flood that destroyed early civilization. This narrative appeared in cultures worldwide, leading some researchers to investigate whether an actual catastrophic event might have inspired these stories. Geological evidence from the Mediterranean and Middle East revealed signs of massive flooding that occurred approximately 5,000 years ago. Marine archaeologist Robert Ballard discovered evidence of rapid sea level changes in the Black Sea region that corresponded to the time frame described in flood narratives. The underwater archaeological sites showed signs of advanced settlements that were suddenly abandoned. The construction techniques at these submerged locations matched the unexplained methods found at Uruk and other sites mentioned in the epic. The flood narrative in the Gilgamesh epic described a character named Utnapishtim who survived the catastrophe by building a massive vessel. The technical specifications for this craft, as recorded in the cuneiform tablets, were analyzed by naval architects in the 1970s. The design showed sophisticated understanding of maritime engineering principles that should have been unknown to ancient Mesopotamian civilization. Computer modeling of Utnapishtim's vessel revealed that the proportions and construction method would indeed create a seaworthy craft capable of surviving extreme weather conditions. The material specified in the text included waterproofing techniques using bitumen and reed construction methods that demonstrated advanced knowledge of shipbuilding principles. Dr. Zacharias Sitchin, scholar of ancient languages, spent decades analyzing the Sumerian terminology used throughout the epic. His research revealed that many words translated as gods or divine beings actually referred to specific technical concepts. The term Anunnaki, traditionally interpreted as a pantheon of deities, appeared to describe a group of individuals who possessed advanced knowledge and technology. Sitchin's translations suggested that the epic contained accurate descriptions of genetic manipulation, advanced metallurgy, and flight technology. The text described the Anunnaki as beings who came from the sky and established early civilization through the introduction of agriculture, writing, and complex social structures. These descriptions corresponded to the sudden appearance of advanced culture in Mesopotamia around 3,000 years before the Common Era. The most controversial aspect of Sitchin's research involved his interpretation of Sumerian astronomical text. The epic contained references to celestial bodies and cosmic events that seemed to demonstrate knowledge of planetary systems beyond the capability of ancient observation. The descriptions included details about the composition of distant planets and the mechanics of orbital relationships. Archaeological evidence from sites throughout the Middle East began to support elements of Sitchin's controversial translations. Excavations at Baalbek in Lebanon revealed foundation stones weighing over 800 tons that were quarried and positioned using unknown methods. The precision of the stonework matched the construction techniques described in the Gilgamesh epic. The epic's description of the cedar forest contained another puzzling element. The text indicated that this location was guarded by a creature called Humbaba, who could detect approaching humans from vast distances and possessed weapons that produced fire and light. Archaeological surveys of the Lebanon mountain region revealed extensive ancient mining operations that extracted materials unknown to conventional archaeology. Core samples from these mining sites showed evidence of extraction techniques that removed specific minerals with surgical precision. The tunneling methods demonstrated knowledge of geology and engineering that exceeded the capabilities attributed to ancient civilization. The mining operations appeared to have been abandoned suddenly, leaving behind tools and equipment that showed no signs of deterioration despite their supposed age. Recent satellite imagery analysis of the region described in the epic has revealed geometric patterns in the landscape that appear to be artificial constructions. These formations are visible only from high altitude and show mathematical precision that suggests deliberate design. Ground-based archaeological investigation of these sites has been restricted by various government agencies. The epic's conclusion described Gilgamesh's unsuccessful quest for immortality and his eventual return to Uruk. However, the text contained a curious detail about the king's final fate. Rather than describing his death, the epic stated that Gilgamesh departed for the land of the living and would return when humanity faced its greatest challenge. Mesopotamian records from later periods contained references to the return of the king and described preparations for this event. Administrative tablets from various cities mentioned the maintenance of specific sites and the preservation of certain technologies for the time of Gilgamesh's return. These preparations continued for centuries after the epic was first recorded. The most disturbing discovery related to the epic emerged from recently declassified government documents. Intelligence agencies from multiple countries have maintained active investigation files on locations mentioned in the Gilgamesh narrative. The reasons for this ongoing interest remain classified, but the investigations have continued for several decades. What evidence would convince you that humanity's oldest story might actually be a historical record rather than ancient fiction? Share your thoughts on whether advanced civilizations could have existed in our distant past. Subscribe to explore more cases where archaeological discoveries challenge our understanding of human history.